Wind-whipped and wild, the shores of Patagonia seem frozen in time, a place where ancient hunters roamed vast steppes and waves crashed against rocky coasts. For decades, archaeologists believed these first Patagonian settlers were part of a single migration, isolated and resilient, adapting slowly to the harsh environment. But what if that story is incomplete? What if multiple, distinct groups arrived on Patagonia's shores at different times, some from deep inland, others from far up the Pacific coast? Ancient DNA is now revealing unexpected layers to this prehistoric saga, and the people who first lived here might not have been who we thought. Before we start, I'm on a road to get 1,000 subscribers as a small channel. If you want to help me, please subscribe. Patagonia spans the southernmost regions of Chile and Argentina, stretching from the Andes to the Atlantic and down to Tierra del Fuego. Its coastal zones are shaped by icy fjords, rugged cliffs and windswept plains, making it one of the most remote and challenging places for ancient humans to inhabit. Archaeologists long believed that the first settlers reached this region as part of the broader peopling of the Americas, migrating southward from Beringia and moving inland before eventually reaching the coast. By around 14,500 years ago, early humans had established sites like Monteverde in southern Chile, widely regarded as some of the earliest known settlements in the Western Hemisphere. From there, it was thought, a slow diffusion occurred, with groups adapting to marine and steppe environments over thousands of years. The traditional view held that these people represented one continuous lineage, evolving in place. But clues from tools, diet, and now DNA suggest a more complex and dynamic process. As archaeologists dug deeper into Patagonia's past, they began to notice puzzling shifts in material culture. Around 4,700 years ago, sites once dominated by terrestrial hunting tools started yielding implements clearly adapted to marine life: harpoons, shellfish processing tools, and evidence of sea mammal consumption. These changes coincided with new pottery styles and settlement patterns that emphasized coastal living. Some argued this was a sign of local innovation, a response to changing resources or climate. Others wondered whether these shifts might reflect the arrival of entirely new people. Similar patterns appeared again around 2,000 years ago, with additional changes in tool types, burial practices, and diet. Was this simply evolution, or the imprint of migration? Without genetic evidence, it was hard to say, but the material record hinted at more than one cultural wave, each with its own traditions, lifeways, and possibly origins. The pieces didn't fully add up until ancient DNA helped bring the picture into focus. To investigate these cultural shifts, researchers turned to ancient DNA extracted from human remains unearthed along the Patagonian coast. They focused on skeletons dated from about 5,800 years ago to as recent as 100 years ago, spanning nearly the full sweep of human occupation in the region. Using advanced techniques like hybridization capture and next-generation sequencing, scientists extracted DNA from teeth and the dense petrous bone of the skull, both excellent at preserving genetic material. These remains came from multiple archaeological contexts, representing both early inland sites and later coastal communities with distinct toolkits. The genomes were analyzed alongside ancient and modern populations from South America, allowing researchers to trace ancestry, population splits, and gene flow. The result was one of the most detailed genetic maps of prehistoric Patagonia to date, and what it revealed was startling. Rather than a single continuous lineage, the DNA pointed to at least 3 distinct waves of people who left their mark on the southern frontier. The genomic data showed clear evidence of deep population structure. The earliest individuals, dating to around 5,800 years ago, carried unique genetic signatures distinct from both modern Patagonians and later prehistoric groups. These early settlers likely arrived overland from central Argentina, adapted to terrestrial hunting on the open steppe. Then, around 4,700 years ago, a second group appeared, genetically distinct and associated with coastal sites and marine-based economies. Their DNA showed affinities with populations from central Chile and coastal Peru, suggesting long-distance movement along the Pacific. Finally, a third genetic wave appeared around 2,000 years ago, again from the north, bringing subtle shifts in ancestry and material culture. Each of these waves contributed differently to the region's genetic landscape. Some populations remained relatively isolated, while others interbred over time. The surprising continuity of some lineages, combined with pulses of new ancestry, revealed a complex tapestry of migration, interaction, and local adaptation far more nuanced than archaeologists had previously imagined. With genetic evidence confirming distinct population layers, researchers proposed a new model of Patagonian settlement shaped by multiple waves of migration. The first arrivals, dating to roughly 6,600 years ago, were inland hunter-gatherers who thrived on guanaco hunting and foraging. Then came a second wave around 4,700 years ago, this time from the Pacific coast. These migrants were expert seafarers, bringing knowledge of marine hunting and shellfish gathering, along with cultural practices likely shaped in central Chile. Their arrival coincided with new coastal adaptations and a marked shift in site locations, tool types, and dietary remains. A third group, appearing less than 2,000 years ago, added further genetic diversity. This group may have originated even farther north, introducing new ceramics and mortuary traditions. Rather than a single migration, Patagonia's history now reads as a palimpsest, overlapping stories of movement, adaptation, and interaction. Each wave added a new layer to the region's human story, shaping its cultures and communities in different ways. These distinct waves weren't just genetically different, they lived differently too. Isotope analysis of bones showed that early inland groups relied heavily on terrestrial game like guanaco, while later coastal populations had diets rich in seafood, seals, and seabirds. Their tools mirrored these lifestyles: stone projectiles for land hunters, bone harpoons and shell scrapers for maritime specialists. Even burial practices diverged. Some groups used open-air cemeteries, while others buried their dead in shell middens. Genetically, these populations remained separate for centuries, with little evidence of admixture at first. Over time, however, gene flow increased, suggesting cultural boundaries began to soften as communities interacted. Uniparental markers added another layer to the story. Early Patagonian individuals carried mitochondrial DNA haplogroups like C1b and D1, both commonly found among the earliest South American populations. Their Y-DNA, inherited paternally, mostly belonged to haplogroup Q1A2A1, typical of early Native American males. Later coastal groups, particularly those tied to the second and third migration waves, introduced subtle variations in these lineages, including shifts in mitochondrial haplotypes, suggesting maternal ancestry from central Chile and even further north. These genetic signals confirmed what the genome-wide data implied: that Patagonia's population history wasn't static, but shaped by episodic movements, isolation, and mixing over thousands of years. Taken together, the ancient DNA and archaeological evidence compel a dramatic reinterpretation of Patagonia's early human history. Rather than a single founding population adapting slowly over millennia, the region's prehistory was shaped by at least three major population pulses, each with different origins, lifestyles, and cultural expressions. These weren't just small family groups wandering in by accident. They were part of larger regional movements, navigating along the Pacific coast or traversing inland plains, bringing with them knowledge, tools, and traditions that reshaped Patagonia's human landscape. This perspective explains the abrupt shifts in material culture, changes in diet, and regional differences seen in the archaeological record. It also suggests that Patagonia was far more connected to the wider South American world than once believed. The traditional story of a cold, forgotten frontier is giving way to a new image, one of a dynamic crossroads where waves of migration, innovation, and interaction wrote a far richer chapter than we ever expected. Despite these revelations, many questions remain. Researchers hope to sample older remains, especially from submerged coastal sites now hidden beneath rising seas, to better trace the earliest migrations. There's also interest in inland sites where early and later populations may have overlapped. Did they coexist, compete, or avoid each other entirely? More comparative work with ancient DNA from central Chile, Peru, and even Amazonia could clarify the routes these groups followed and the contacts they maintained. And what about cultural exchange? Did pottery styles, fishing techniques, or rituals spread alongside genes? Patagonia's story is still being written, and the next chapter may surprise us even more. Patagonia's wind-beaten coastlines and icy fjords once seemed like the end of the world, a lonely outpost of ancient humanity. But ancient DNA reveals something far more dynamic. The first people to arrive weren't a single group, but a series of waves, some overland, some coastal, all contributing to a rich and layered human history. It challenges how we think about isolation, adaptation, and the reach of ancient migrations. What other regions might hold similar surprises beneath their soil? Let me know what you think in the comments, like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe and support the channel.